Let's get ready to rumble!
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Derek OSAZE was savagely knocked out in 2 by Denzel Bentley at the York Hall. Bentley immediately assumed the role as the counter-puncher and landed a right-hand counter almost seconds after the first bell as OSAZE came forward. OSAZE, very aggressive behind his jab, looking very strong, probably took the first round. In the second, Bentley actually landed the right uppercut that he was eventually to be successful with, but the first attempt was partially smothered. The second time he landed it, later in the round, had devastating consequences. Like OSAZE, he was out on his feet. Denzel followed up with another right hand, clubbing right hand, and down went OSAZE. He attempted to get up bravely, but he was in a bad way. Beautifully delivered counter punches, and the referee waved it off. I don't think we can feed Denzel any more domestic opposition right now, aside from Denny and Shiraz. And he'll definitely be eyeing the winner of Shiraz versus Denny on the 21st of September. And he deserves that fight. I mean, Danny Dignam, at the same venue just the other month, that was very one-sided. Didn't last more than a couple with Denzel. Troy Williamson is moving up to 160, and he called Denzel out. And Denzel respectfully said, I'm going to weigh up my options, stay up, champ, blah, blah. I commented, it's a backward step for Denzel. No disrespect to Troy, it's a backward step. The only domestic fight outside the winner of Denny and Shiraz is the Nathan Heaney fight. Or maybe Brad Paul's. There are domestic fights out there for Denzel. Let me retract that. Nathan Heaney, who defeated him, you might want to avenge that. Or Brad Paul's. Hey, it's time we start getting some of these British 160-pounders in the title mix. Because they're pretty decent. Denny, Shiraz, Bentley's already fought Johnny Beck and did okay in that fight. Let's get them in the mix. With old guys like Erislandy Lara, with belts at 160. Unproven champions like Carlos Adames. Johnny Beck fainting in an attempt to make the weight a few months back and had to cancel his fight. The doors are wide open at 160. Wide open. OSAZE, once a prospect, won the Ultimate Fighter tournament that Ben Shalom used to have on TNT. It was a gallant effort, but probably a bit of a crossroads situation for him. A lot of inactivity recently, and then thrust into this big fight against Denzel Bentley. It's not ideal. But he probably needed a payday, and he did what he had to do. Savage end, and he'll obviously have to have a long think about his future. 30 years of age, 13-2-0. Denzel, 29 years of age, is now 23-1. He'll be looking to push on.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Oh! How did Guido do first round? I don't mind seeing that, man. I've got Guido down for the win, I've got Guido down for the win. That was brave by ARSLANBEK Makhmoudov. It was brave. But when Sonny Liston was asked about the bravery of his opponent, who he had bludgeoned to defeat, Chuck Wepner, he replied, I don't know if he's brave. His cornermen are brave for letting him take that beating. Chuck Wepner said every time Liston hit him, he could hear his bones crunch. And this was an ode back to them days. I predicted Guido to win this one. The foot speed gap made my pick very easy. I'm assuming most people who've seen both of them fight would have made the same pick that I did. I don't know if Sky Sports are trying to make a story of it and attract more viewers. They're saying it was an upset. What sticks in my head about the fight was there wasn't a second I saw Makhmoudov outmaneuver the Italian kid. Not 1 second. It was so one-sided. More one-sided than I believed it would be. And them neck twitches that Makhmoudov does consistently through the fight. What is that about? Quick twitching his neck every second. And then when the swelling appeared on the left eye, is the second just putting the cold compress and trying to squeeze out a swelling that was a lost cause. And I'm trying to work out how this man, who some people were saying was a animal, a beast, is one of the most limited fighters I've seen projected to compete at elite level. What happened? Can he come back? Is there a future? We'll see. The CompuBox stats revealed that Guido overwhelmed Makhmoudov in power punches landed and jabs. There was a knockdown in the 7th that wasn't scored. Makhmoudov definitely touched the canvas with his right glove. And when you see a fight like that, where one opponent can win by counter-punching and by being aggressive, and the other opponent can't win either way. His only hope is a big swing lands from out of somewhere. He can't win on the front foot because he doesn't have the front foot speed and he doesn't have the back foot speed. Every time Makhmoudov would get in range, by the time he telegraphed his attacks, Guido would smother him or slap him and cuff him around with shots. Guido didn't employ the body attack that Ajit Kabayel did. And that's why ARSLANBEK was able to stay on his feet for as long as he did. Makhmoudov at 35 is unlikely to gain any lateral movement into his boxing. And in all truth, he's a heavy-handed club fighter at best. Brave though, and takes a good whack. Although Guido, not a huge puncher by elite heavyweight standards. The 7th was a really bad round for Makhmoudov, really bad. He was just eating punches, getting rocked all around the ring. I'm in disbelief that they're going to send him out for the 8th. And finally, the doctor, just as the 8th was about to start, it called him over. Then he gave ARSLANBEK a counting lesson. How many fingers have I got up? As ARSLANBEK mumbled something out, he stopped it. Mercifully stopped the fight. I believe Makhmoudov beat Guido VIANELLO in the amateurs, so Guido will feel good about avenging that L. And he could be a handful for most heavyweights out there, Guido. He takes a good punch. Didn't really take anything clean from Makhmoudov, in all truth. There was a punch he complained about around the side of his head. Makhmoudov's best spells came around the 4th round, where he wasn't getting backed up and he was trying to be aggressive. But yeah, Guido VIANELLO, his foot speed and hand speed and size, if you haven't heard, I'm telling you now, he can be in some very good fights.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Quebec, Canada, this Saturday. I'm intrigued. I don't think DEREVYNCHENKO can win it. I have a feeling he will expose the naiveties and inexperience that Mbilli lacks, even though he's 29 years of age. Mbilli will know what he needs to work on if he's to become a champion of any note after he fights DEREVYNCHENKO.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
That was my breakdown for this particular fight. I was not expecting Christian Mbilli to look like $1 million.
Fresh dress like $1 million.
I wasn't expecting it. And nor should have you been expecting it if you've done your homework on this fight. You know, some fighters are just tough. And this guy, DEREVYNCHENKO, is in a weight class that's not natural to him. He's a 160 pounder. I think he could have probably made 154 at one stage in his career. Bad bicep injury early in the fight and still managed to give Christian Mbilli a test like I said he would. This will be the fight where Christian Mbilli finds out where he is and what level he is at as a boxer. This fight here wasn't supposed to look good. The worst thing that could have happened is that he got a DEREVYNCHENKO who just turned up for a paycheck and a paycheck alone. That would have been the worst thing, because he got a DEREVYNCHENKO who still had some ambition left and had so much to teach him. DEREVYNCHENKO used a combination of movement and savviness to stay in the fight and give Mbilli a couple of awkward moments. Actually hurt Mbilli in the 7th with that body shot. Mbilli employed a good body attack that DEREVYNCHENKO looked like he was going to crumble eventually, which he didn't. DEREVYNCHENKO was hurt several times by headshots and he stayed in there. Just one of the tough guys in the sport. One of the tough guys. And has so much ability. Christian Mbilli has to work on his counter-punching ability without sacrificing too much of his aggression. He's got to find a balance. He's got to be more creative to pick his punching opportunities, more angles, more lateral movement to develop them angles. His fitness, his punch output, that was pretty impressive. He's in good shape, but you've got to start hitting your opponent with punches they're not expecting. If they can just see you coming, they can brace for whatever you throw at them. And I picked the Derek Chisora Joe Joyce fight to be a tough fight. It doesn't matter if you're bigger than somebody in boxing. There may come a point where if the size differential is too much, you can't overcome it. There might come that point. But skills pay the bills. Derevyanchenko knows more about boxing in terms of his pro resume than Christian can dream of. He's had tough fights with Golovkin, Danny Jacobs, Charlo. I've missed a few. There's a few more. Jaime. And he's never been stopped. I knew it was going to be tough when I see Derevyanchenko still coming out with Andre Rozier, his American coach. He's been with that guy for a long time. Rozier wouldn't be bringing him out if he didn't think there was something left in the tank or there was some ambition there. He wouldn't be wasting his time. He wouldn't be wasting his time. Invaluable experience for Christian Mbilli. There's people writing him off. I see them writing him off. I can see them. They can't help themselves. They're so ignorant to the sport. So ignorant. No account being taken for who he was in there with. The Ukrainians for a few years now have been producing some of the best professional boxers. Look at Boyashuk, who lost that dodgy one to Virgil Ortiz just the other day. Usyk, Loma. Klitschko's dominated the division before the Fury and Joshua era. They've got a lightweight champion. And this guy's no exception. He's in that same bloodline of Ukrainians who can fight their fucking ass off. Hey, Christian Mbilli, I'm not writing you off. You had the fight you were supposed to take, and it was supposed to be this tough. Hey, Derevyanchenko will give Canelo the same tough fight, believe it or not. And anyone else in the weight class who fancied their luck. David Benavidez as well. Maybe not now, or maybe next year, because after a time the wear and tear can make it difficult for even the likes of Derevyanchenko to perform. So, he likely doesn't have too many fights at the top level where he can perform like that. I expect Christian Mbilli to go on to challenge for titles and be a player at 168 for a little while. 175, he may be too small. Maybe. But I expect him to be successful in this weight class. If he's a glass half full type of boxer, he should be delighted this morning because he knows there's so much to work on. Like I said in my breakdown video, I said after this fight, he's going to know exactly what he needs to work on and what he needs to throw away. He's going to know exactly that. That's exactly what I said in my breakdown. And that's where I feel he goes from there.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
I keep hearing that Canelo is the cash cow in boxing. Now, unless this report from Yahoo is wrong, Tyson Fury made $129 million, £100 million from his last fight with Alexander Usyk. Show me a receipt where Canelo has got anywhere near that amount of money for a fight. But it doesn't matter if me and 100 more people repeat this story. They're still going to say Canelo is the cash cow. They're still going to say, because that's what they do. That's what they do. Unfortunately for Fury, £46 million of his £100 million purse will be wiped out due to the UK tax laws. Nearly $45 million in income tax and $2 million in national insurance will eat up the 35-year-old former two-time heavyweight champion's purse. So he'll walk away with $53 million. If you are a resident in the UK, you have to pay tax on overseas earnings in the same way, explained a Stocklytics spokesperson. And yeah, like it's saying, I'm sure Tyson Fury's people look to get the best deal they can. And if that's the best they could get, you have to say the system's kind of fucked up. Like, they shouldn't be able to take that amount of money in taxes from him. No way. But you have to look at these things on face value with a pragmatic head. You have to look at the math and all the other mitigating factors, how they've came up to that number. It is what it is. Maybe you get some perks, tax breaks on certain transactions or investments as a result of paying so much tax. I wouldn't know. I'm not in that tax bracket. Wish I was. If you haven't fought in Riyadh season and your name ain't Mayweather or Pacquiao, any cash cow talk is cap.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
So Canelo was on Sway's radio show, formerly Sway and Tech, for all you hip-hop heads. So he's laying down the rules for a possible Benavidez fight. We already know he wants 200 million, yeah? But now he's told Sway the fight can happen if a rehydration clause is made. He says Benavidez weighs in 185, 190 on the night of the fight. A rematch clause, then it could possibly happen. So basically, he wants 200 million and a rehydration clause. Doesn't sound acceptable to me. You're getting 200 million as a boxer for the risk reward. This is a man who's lost twice already. You're not no Mayweather. This ain't no Mayweather blueprint. And then he said, people always complain about the rehydration clause or the money that he's asking for. He put a rehydration clause on Kovalev. He said, but it doesn't bother me what people say. Well, why you bring it up then if it doesn't bother you? He said he doesn't worry about size when he boxes because he's smart and he's strong. He feels 160 is closer to his natural fighting weight, but he's cool at 168. Yeah, as long as his name isn't Benavidez, then you're cool. He didn't ask for no rehydration clause against Bivol. How much did Bivol weigh in when he fought him? So David Benavidez, his last fight was at 175. He's going to fight at 175 in December. Hopefully he'll get the winner out of Beterbiev and Bivol. If he loses that fight, people will still want to see him fight Canelo, as long as he doesn't lose that bad. And if he wins that fight, even more so. So he's expected to drain himself for 175, make 168, and then abide to a rehydration clause. And we pay you 200 million in gate and pay-per-view money because you're so special. It's time for people to start calling Canelo for what bullshit he's doing. That's what it is.
One less you gotta worry about.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.